Hey everybody, what's going on? Scotty V here, and sorry for the little bit of the distortion. I'm currently trying to take care of my laundry just a day early as I sit at home listening to FA2A arbitration in the first hour of what's going on with the interview with David Nobel. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick recap of that first 46 minutes and 37 seconds. So, as many of you may know, David Noble is a retired letter carrier. He retired in 2012. He's currently 78 years old. All these, by the way, are questions that Mr. Noble is answering from all of you that are out there. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of cut through it. This is going to come in a three-part series. That way you can listen to a little bit here, a little bit there. And I'm really going to try my best not to waste anyone's time if you choose to listen. So Mr. Noble became a letter carrier in 1975, and when he was at National under Vaca and Rademacher, they were both in power, and there was an 8-year backlog of grievances, and a lot of those things were settled when Mr. Noble came in. A lot of them were done through the pre-arbitration process and the arbitration process, according to what he's saying. Mr. Noble also had a hand in the writing of the letter carrier paragraph, which is Article 41, if I'm not mistaken, and specifically he added that management needed to go ahead and seek auxiliary assistance before forcing a non-overtime carrier to do any kind of overtime. Also, he had a hand in creating the computerized arbitration system as well as the MRS. For all of you out there that don't know what that is, it's our material referencing system that has a lot of our M documents. He also had a hand in writing the defenses to discipline. He spent approximately 13 years at National, and he had also worked at National with Vince Sombrato for approximately 18 years, is what he was saying his time and relationship with him actually was. Let's see. The last time he said he filed a grievance was in 2012 on his own behalf, which was also the year that he retired. A couple of things. I'm not going to give you my opinion or anything. He also, the last time he met at Formal or Informal A happened to be in Minnesota approximately 40 years ago. He's been to arbitration 35 times as an advocate, and once again, that was back when he was in Minnesota. He hasn't held an officer position within our union in the last 20 years, but he still makes the claim that he continues to help carriers, and he uses the material referencing system MRS at least once a week. It does seem like he's genuine when he's answering these questions. Moving a little bit forward, like we were just talking about M documents, he did say that he had a small part in the creation of the joint statement on violence. We all know that that was in response to the shooting at the Royal Oak, Michigan post office. It's always a tragedy whenever something like that happens. No one should ever get to the point where they're that upset to where they actually take a firearm and take someone else's life in cold blood. Firearms, just like any other kind of weapon, guess what it's used for? It's used for defensive purposes. You never, ever do something like that. Sorry, getting into my own opinions. He was talking about contract issues. One of the contract issues that he sees, which is an issue for him, is CCAs. CCAs are a big no-no. I agree with that. CCAs are losing out on a significant amount of money because they are not career. I guess you could say it's also nice that the PTF designation came back, which I agree with, but unfortunately, PTFs are still treated pretty shitty in my opinion. Damn it, here I go with my opinion again. Screw it, I'm giving opinions. He also says that he sees a problem when it comes to how we are treated. He was talking specifically about creating a new article for carriers' rights. Part of that new article had something to do with creating a harassment-free work environment, which means management can't come on the floor. They can't harass you. They can't talk to you about stuff unless it's something that's I guess he said positive, something to help, truly correct an issue rather than the frivolous and punitive discipline that many of us face almost on a daily basis, in some offices on a weekly basis. He also says that he sees a problem with, for instance, the M39 Management of Delivery Services Handbook, specifically Section 115.4, which is the mutual respect provision that management has to follow, where they have to create an environment of mutual respect. Well, Mr. Noble believes that it's vague just as much as the joint statement on violence is vague. And I could see where he's coming from this. There are a lot of points in there where it does seem like it's vague because it doesn't point out any specific behaviors. But in other handbooks and manuals, they will say that these right here are not actual specific examples of what is not allowed. God, I can't even think about what the hell that was. All right, next, as you may know, Mr. Noble, he most recently won a lawsuit, which was won on appeal. It says right here that the union will ultimately have to let candidates to post in the postal records outside of the single issue where everyone is running. He also brought up one of the issues when it comes to national officers being able to come into postal facilities versus anyone that's challenging. That right there happened to be one of the issues he brought up as well. He also brought up the financial considerations that it can cost a significant amount of money to go ahead and run against an incumbent, because that very rarely in our union's history has a challenger been able to actually defeat an incumbent. And a lot of that comes down to, in his words, the amount of wealth that the incumbent and the officers under him actually have. I can definitely see that. Money talks, bullshit walks, right, everybody? One thing that's abundantly clear from Mr. Noble is that Brian Renfro has to go. I agree with that. Corey Walton agrees with that. You can hear him say it inside the episode. And I do know that there are a lot of carriers that are out there, whether you listen to me or not, that actually agree with that as well. He does have to go. He's not doing anything to help us. Radio silence is not how you help the general membership that pay your $200,000 plus a year salary. We all know that. Many of you may be wondering, is David Noble going to run again under the clean sweep ticket? David does say that he may not run in 2026. A lot of it depends on the other candidates and if they have a similar mentality as him. Unfortunately, there have been a couple of times where you've heard that Mr. Noble has been arrested 2 separate times for wanting to observe the counting of the ballots. Also, he did say that, the 2022 election was opaque, which means not transparent, and he's still saying that the individuals on the clean sweep ticket, they may run in 26. A lot of it just depends if there are like-minded individuals that are part of the concerned letter carrier. Oh, what the hell was it? CLC, Concerned Letter Carriers, little group that's actually up and coming. Also, you may not know this, but Mr. Noble is not permitted in NALC headquarters. The only one that he did say that he has a pretty good relationship would be Nicole Ryan, and that she does help him whenever she has the ability to, which actually sounds good. So it does show that he is trying. He is being civil. He's trying to talk, and he's trying to be a member of our union. Also, we're going to go ahead and jump into what happened between Vince Zimbrato, former president of the NALC, as well as David Noble. Apparently, it seems that on top of the salaries that our national officers received, David Noble ended up uncovering some under-the-table payments, and Vince Zimbrato wasn't a fan that David found out about it and tried to expose it. And that was one of the reasons why he was suspended. All right. Also going back to, we'll skip into it. Apparently, the ballots that we submit when we're voting had a 6-digit number on it, and NALC officers in the committee I think not the officers, but I think it was just the election committee. What they were doing was these 6 digits would identify who you were, according to Mr. Noble, and they would be able to find out who you voted for by opening that ballot, and then they would have that 6 digit number connected to your person. And according to what he's claiming, they would go ahead and discard ballots that were perfectly valid if they were against the incumbent or whoever the incumbent was promoting. So apparently there may be a database where National is keeping track of who and how we vote, which could create a bigger issue. Going back to concerned letter carriers, it talks about unity. He wants a functional grievance procedure. Right now, I don't know if any of you remember this, but I do know, at least in our region, we're backlogged over 500 for arbitration. And nationally, I believe Mr. Renfro said that we were about 10 to 12,000 behind, but it came out that we're more like 16,000 grievances backlogged. Yeah, I could see why we need a functional grievance procedure, because management is just going to frickin' stall, and frickin' having, Barner neutered by the the head of labor, that doesn't help, especially telling the DRTs, our step 3 guys and gals that are out there busting their asses, reading all these frickin' packets that are anywhere from 100 pages to 13, 14, 1,800 pages, however long those damn case files are. Also, he really wants those backlogs to get worked and processed, and he wants to try and create a way to actually hold management accountable. Well, in my opinion, I want to know if management's not going to go ahead and do their thing, schedule arbitrations, and they're going to stall it. I guess the biggest question is, when are we as a union, when's a national level grievance going to actually be filed so we can process and get these backlogs cleared up? It's absolutely ridiculous that we have all of these backlogged. There are carriers that are likely off the job right now that are pending arbitration, wondering what the hell is going to happen in their future. And if you look at the cost of living, how the hell are they surviving right now? Good people struggle during hard times as well. Maybe they ought to do. Renfro ought to take a look outside of his office and look and see how people actually are. He has, how funny. When was the last time, David Noble carried mail? 2012, right before he retired. Ask yourself this: when was the last time Brian Renfro carried mail? That right there is a big question that everyone should sit on. Think about it. Let it marinate. Because it makes me think. I used to have a different opinion about Mr. Noble. But when he's carried mail more recently than our national president, to me, that definitely creates that disconnect. Like people are out of touch. So also another point of contention for him is that dishonest management, whether supervisor, manager, postmaster, district manager, AVP, whoever may be calling the shots, he does believe that they all need to be held accountable for their actions, similar to the way that management tries to hold us accountable for our actions. With that being said, that's the essentially the end of that first hour of the interview. I will have something else for you guys and gals later. Thank you very much for listening, and part 2 will be coming up at some point later today.